And we got bananas in chat from Sharu Manaru, Alpen Glow Up, Soundwave Hope, Father of Apocalypse, Elena Carb, Maurice, 8CF, Eri, Shizuku again. Thank you ever so much for the bananas in chat. Means that we're live on the twitch.tv/theassumer where you are watching. I believe you are watching this live stream right here. Right here. Right now. Right here. Right now. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, I don't know why I'm singing that song. We've got music on in the background. Jeez. Let's make up some materials. Let's ignore all these shulker boxes here. They don't really exist. I'm going to probably be building another tower in the area soon, so I wanted to gather up some materials for that, right? Jimmy Pup Free is here for 5 months saying, "Hey X, how are you doing today? Hope you're doing well." I'm doing great, thanks for asking, dude. I say I'm doing great. Let's go put these back, because I just realised that I don't need them. And you're probably thinking, what? But X, when are you gonna fill up some materials? I am, I tell you. I am. But they're already full up. Well, partially. Some of them have got other things in it. That's stone, not gravel. That's a lie. Oh, how did that end up in there? That is not clean. Not clean. Hashtag not clean. Yeah, this right here will do. Yeah, I'm doing good, but man, today have I really struggled with my energy a little bit. Just trying to do exercise and feeling so lethargic. I think, I don't know, maybe the eating less is catching up with me, or maybe it's just today. Maybe there's just something about this day on Earth. You know, let's go grab some. You see, there's already some white dyes over on this side. You sound happy, says Zeospa. Well, I'm glad I do. I'm doing all right today, let's say. You know, like I could say I've had better days, but it almost sounds like I had a bad day. I've just been a bit under energetic. It's been kind of annoying. You know, like standing at this desk all day, it started to wear me out the last couple of days. So I ended up getting my laptop and doing a little bit of writing over on my other desk. I've got a normal desk as well. What's cooking today, says Harrow. We're gonna be doing just a bunch of little jobs and errands, working on our mini games some more. That was part of the plan. And just prepping some materials. Gonna do a little bit of design work later. Just got a little list of things to get through, basically. You know the deal. You know what the deal is. Unless you don't. You have a standing desk, says Pesky Bid. I do. I do indeed. Jewel Mungadarix is here subscribing. So is Tempter Tiger, V Taydan, and official Jaden gifting subs and slobs with its beautiful updates that I'm sure every streamer appreciates. Hiding the subscriptions, so I gotta go click on them. I'm sorry. I have a bit of a pet peeve that every time this program gets updated, it gets slightly worse. Cake Him Forever, Sir Pell, Fox Esper, Jamie Mack, Salik Bashir. You have all been gifted subs. Dr. Bashir. I got Deep Space Nine on my brain, peeps. I'm going to talk about that at length at some point in this stream, because I've finished watching it. But we won't start on that just yet. Got to let people arrive. Got to welcome everyone in, and you know, we've got to get going on this live stream. Yeah, that'll do just fine and also dandy. You really actually tear through a lot of dye when you craft them up at this kind of quantity. That is one thing I have observed. And now we've got some DS9 fans in chat. Yeah, we'll talk about it at length later on. Wait, didn't I? Oh, there it is. I see it now. There it is. I see it now with my eyeballs. What's the plan for today, says Little Aranus? Couple of errands, working on the minigame, and something else. That's all I can tell you, something else. Oh yeah, I've got some design work I want to do. Slower says that apparently I'm not even live on your follow list. Well, Twitch be twitching, as they say, right? That's the old saying. Twitch be twitching. What be going on, Twitch? Alright, I must have taken that out. Let's put that back. Here you go. We got Salmon TV, the Arctic Viking for 18 months, saying, how was your weekend? It was good. It was alright. Floris Vanastrick with the Prime, Meeks YT with the Prime as well. At the weekend I had Chinese takeaway, and man, I knew I wouldn't enjoy it. Well, I can't say I didn't enjoy it. Like, it was alright, but I don't think Chinese is the takeaway for me. I'm rarely happy with Chinese takeaway. I just didn't enjoy it all that much. I mean, it was food, it was alright, but I just find, I don't know, when you go to the restaurant and you have like a buffet, Chinese buffet, really cool. Get to try lots of different things, pick what you like the most. But when you order Chinese takeaway, I just find like you're not quite sure what the dishes are going to be. Like, I had chicken satay, right? And they were just on skewers, whereas sometimes you get it with sprouts and beans, and you're never quite sure what you're going to get. And I was just like, yeah, not really that bothered. Hey, that was my my weekend treat, right? Oh my god, I had Chinese takeaway last weekend too, says Conan Manga. I'm sorry to disappoint you, dude. It wasn't last weekend, it was this weekend. Oh, your excitement has been ruined. To think we both had Chinese takeaway on the same weekend, but no, it was a lie. It was a lie, I tell you. Yeah, some people in chat obviously really like Chinese takeaway. I mean, if you like it, that's great. Like, I just never find the meals that satisfying. It's not terrible, but never quite does it for me. Let's fill up a box with stuff, because we've got to go somewhere where we need things in the box. This box right here is actually the one we had last time. I might need some nethery bits. Let's just take these two. That'll do the trick, right? The thing I could possibly need too much more. Let's get a little extra blackstone just in case. Just in case I'm shy, you know? Older Lamar says, don't spoil it. When I talk about it later, it will probably have some spoilers, so I'll give you a bit of a warning. I mean, it will. The way I want to get it off my chest, really. You know what it's like when you get really into something and then you finish it, and then it's just like you're sort of just in that state after it where you're like thinking over it a lot and just remembering it, and like, I could say obsessed. Like, it's not unhealthy. It's like just reflective kind of state, but yeah, constantly thinking about it, watching all the fan videos on YouTube and stuff like that. Right, so we got Soabai gifting a sub to Tim Nasty. Thank you for giving the sub, dude. Appreciate you supporting our community. Pugo is here with cheers and bits saying, are you really going to do a face reveal at episode 1000? No, I think that tweet was a bad idea. I think people totally misunderstood how I thought I was being trolly, but no face reveal. I'm sorry. You know, I just had a funny idea for that video, put out that tweet, people didn't get it. I think because I used the words face reveal, it was just like, oh my god, he's got a face! He's got a face! I must see it! I must see it! Do you know what happens when people see my face? When I go outside and people look at me, they stop and they go, and then their head explodes. So that's why I haven't done a face reveal, because that would be so impolite of me to explode your head. And, you know, you can thank me in advance. That is something that you can do. You can say, thank you, Asuma. You are a very considerate man. But do they say that? No, they just scream. They just scream, face reveal. Oh, you don't know the service I'm doing you. You don't know the service. I think last time, didn't we have beams going across as well? I might just leave them out this time. I feel like that is sufficient. Oh, big fancy sounding word. It's not really actually that big or fancy, is it? But I like the words, I do. I like the words. Hey, can I have some more of that? Don't tell me I ain't got more of it. If I would have to fly back right now, I'd just be like, oh, this is just typical. I tell you what I have started doing. Started watching a bit of Voyager. Ah, that's from the last one. Don't know if I'm gonna invest in watching the whole thing or not, but started watching a little bit of that. We got Sally Ann, 123 for 56 months, saying ever close to that Evil X face. Have a great stream and thanks for the fab content as always. Appreciate your support, Sally Ann. Appreciate it. Cook Kungo is here with the Prime, and allanarace is here with Cheers and Bits, saying I like listening to you play Minecraft while I play for inspiration. Awesome, dude. I think there's a fair amount of people that like to play and listen at the same time, you know. What's up, you troll? Says Guriel. Me, a troll? Surely not. Surely you're mistaken with someone else. I would never be a troll. Anyway, who's looking forward to that face reveal tomorrow that we're doing on the channel? Ghost Rider says, X, what's your opinion on masks being compulsory in the UK from Friday? Ooh, getting topical now. Getting topical. I really hope it doesn't become politicized and it becomes a medical thing that people get on board with and like, right, we can make a difference by wearing these masks. Now, I'm aware that some of you out there might think that the masks are bad. It's very difficult to know what to say because some of the anti-mask arguments are clearly straight up BS, right? People saying that masks stop you breathing or, you know, they'll poison you and all this sort of stuff, right? Okay, we've had masks for a long time. Doctors have been doing surgery with these masks for a long time. Where are all these people complaining about it then? You know, where was the Dr. Genocide cover-up? There wasn't one, but now somehow it's political and people come up with these crazy arguments. I'm cool with someone not wanting to wear a mask if they can at least articulate why and be honest about it. If you can be honest about it, that's a great step in understanding each other a little better. But the bold-faced lying, it's ugly. And I hope over here in the UK it doesn't become politicised like it has been elsewhere. That I think would be a big problem. And unfortunately, okay, me shielding myself from not diving too much into news and you know, people's opinions and discussion that I find can drag you down a little bit. You know, it drains on my mental energy. I skimmed over, let's say, or yeah, I didn't skim it, but I kind of watched this video that was a bit skimp on the topic of people in the UK protesting the use of masks and talking about their opinions on it. And these opinions weren't very well articulated, but not trying to be too dismissive. A lot of talking about people doing their own research to figure things out. That's kind of worrying to me, okay? Just because you can do research doesn't make you an expert in doing research. I'd hold up my hand and say, hey, if I wanted to say something like masks are safe, how would I go about fully verifying that? I'd probably struggle, you know? I'd probably have to spend a lot of time reading news sources and trying to find something that looks credible. There's people out there that are trained into how to do research, that know the ins and outs of it, on how you put together ideas, get things peer reviewed, etc. I'm not one of those people, but when you hear someone else talking about doing their own research and it doesn't sound quite right, that's kind of what happened. I was listening to this woman's reasoning and thinking, you're using a lot of kind of like casting doubt as a reason to doubt, you know? I think if you're going to cast doubt, there needs to be something solid to go along with it. Anyway, really wasn't too convinced, but at the same time didn't want to get dragged into it, so I watched it for a couple of minutes, you know? So when it comes to the anti-masking stuff, I've only really seen the worst arguments for it, because that's the kind of stuff that the places I look at, like Reddit, for a little bit of mild entertainment sitting on the toilet, you know, I see people sharing that stuff. I'm also aware that, like, they're sharing the worst of someone else's position. So, you know, perhaps if anyone in chat wants to share their position, if you are, you know, let's listen, let's be respectful, because, like I said, just seeing the worst of it, right? We got noises in the ear. Turtillo7 with the Prime. GN Imrod G with the Prime as well. Where did we get... How did this get kicked off? Did I read a message in chat? I thought it was a noise in the ear. Dash is here with a donation saying, "Hi X, have you watched Twitch Rivals yesterday?" I have not watched Twitch Rivals. I don't know what that is. Scott the Puppy says, "Masks are great. Masks are great." I'm very fearful people who can't afford masks will be frozen out of society. That's interesting. Okay, that's an interesting point. But let's face it, masks are... Well, let's face it, that's not the right way to start this point. Masks are pretty darn cheap. So we're talking about the most vulnerable people, i.e. homeless. Hopefully, wherever it is someone can say, "I haven't got a mask, but I'm homeless," hopefully other people will listen to that and, you know, give them a pass, help them in whatever way they can, etc. That's right, like something like that can affect our most vulnerable people in society. And, you know, if that's a reason why we shouldn't wear masks, it's a reason why we should perhaps focus our efforts on, you know, homelessness more. But like, I don't think that's an argument against wearing a mask, right? The more of us wear masks, the idea is the less transmission there is. So that's obviously something we want to achieve, I believe. I believe it's something we want to achieve. They should be strongly encouraged but not forced. I can understand when people get upset about being forced to do something. But like, all I've seen of people who, you know, want to defend their right, freedom, not to be forced to wear it, are also at the same time not wearing them. Which, I can get it if you're not going to wear it to sort of mark your point. You shouldn't tell me to wear it, but like, I can totally get. I just naturally have more respect for someone saying we shouldn't be forced to. Like, this is wrong, whilst also wearing a mask, right? Because it's a medical issue. I mean, it's one of those weird things. I think if you think, oh, the government shouldn't have the freedom to tell me to wear the mask, you therefore want to not wear a mask to say you can't tell me. But we kind of need you to wear a mask. Like, that's like, hey, we're in this situation. Like, it would be weird, wouldn't it, to go around shouting we shouldn't be forced to wear masks while wearing one. But if I felt that way, I would do that. I'd be like, if I felt really strongly about not being forced to wear a mask, I'd still choose to wear one. So it's kind of weird how it works like that, right? Like, if you see the idea of being forced as a problem, shouldn't you also be able to see that it's a good thing to wear from a medical perspective? It's just like that. It's weird, isn't it? Okay, that'll do. I feel like putting in a little bit extra here. My dad doesn't believe in masks. He says the virus is 4 times smaller than the holes in the mask material, says Muffin Boffin. Well, I've seen lots of information floating around about how the masks work and the size of the particles of the virus and all this. And I believe that is partially true, that it is smaller, but the way in which the masks work means it actually catches it. This is the problem with information to these days. It always gets weaponized and simplified. And just going off of what I've saw about it, again, I get my information on this particular sort of stuff from science communicators on YouTube. Tends to be the place where I pick up this information. And the video I saw explaining the masks was kind of talking you through all the different elements like that, like the size of the virus, the size of the holes in the mask, and how they have this special material that catches different sizes of particles. In fact, I think if I remember it correctly, they were talking about how it's middle-sized particles that they're not effective on, but big and small they catch due to all this clever, you know, cleverness, I guess you could call it, if you wanted to, cleverness that they use to put the mask together. But out there on the internet, information gets weaponized. One little bit that supports your stance gets blown up. Oh look, the particles are too small, and it's not the whole science. The whole science usually tends to be rather complicated. In the case of the masks, I think it's the N95, the thing I saw was talking about. It's a case of like a lot of complex engineering has gone into it. Oxygen is 1,600 times smaller than the virus. The virus is transmitted on water droplets from your breath. I have severe asthma and I still wear a mask, so no problem. Says Explosives. Waffle Iron. I hear you, buddy. I hear ya. Again, this is why the whole masks suffocate you thing is really frustrating. It's blatant lying. Come on, like if you want to be anti-mask, let's do it with a proper argument. Let's do it with something reasonable. I'll listen to something reasonable. You know, like I can respect people that don't want the government to tell them to wear it. I'm also disappointed that at the same time they don't see the medical reason to wear it and to join in on the caring for one another. That's a good cup of tea. Okay, let's oh jeez, I just messed up my whole stream by pressing 2 buttons. Right. And then I fixed it by pressing another one. Let's go read these noises in the ear. Anna Bombanana gifting a sub to Sebulant. Thank you for the gifted sub. Alan Race is here with cheers and bits saying, I don't like the mask because of the past trauma, but I still wear one. Wear a mask. Alan Race, thank you for your cheers and bits. I don't know what your trauma is, but again, if someone has like a personal objection along those lines, hey, I went through something and like this is difficult for me to wear masks, that's totally acceptable. In my opinion, like we need people to wear masks to slow the transmission, right, or to stop it entirely. The more people that participate, the better. There's gonna be some edge cases like that where someone genuinely can't wear a mask, and that's not a problem. Like, because if the majority of us pitch in and do this, it'll make the difference. It'll make the difference. It's frustrating when people who are fully capable of wearing a mask choose not to. And I can understand the ideas of not wanting the government to tell you what to do. But, like I said, I keep seeing the worst of those arguments, the sort of lying through the teeth, they stop you from breathing sort of thing, right? I think some people like tend to go along with whatever fits their narrative sometimes, maybe not really thinking through what it is they're saying, right? What about all those doctors out there every day working with masks? How come they've never been out and about talking about how masks are killing them, right? Okay, that'll do. That's tidied up that little bit. Looks a bit chunky over here. Oh, that one's necessary. And we need to get those lamps back. I'm going to sneeze. Whew. Harry says, you give the government an inch and they take a mile. Masks are right, but the government is not Big Brother and should educate rather than dictate. Well, it makes sense, but isn't there a situation happening right now? And it is related to the situation. I mean, I'm sure you've heard people making the argument about wearing car seat belts becoming mandatory at one point in time. Like, there already exists a whole bunch of rules and laws around what you can and can't do in society. So when people talk about having freedom, it's like, well, a particular shade of freedom, because there are already things that you will get thrown in jail for if you don't, you know, there are laws and things we have already agreed on. So pure freedom isn't like really there, is it? Okay, Zach says one argument is that masks prevent you from being exposed to bacteria to improve your immune system. I'm not an expert, but smaller doses of disease and good bacteria help our immune system better itself. Yeah, so there's a nugget of truth that's sort of been turned to be anti-mask. If some of you have been watching for a long time, you'll know that I don't wash my hands a lot. You know, personal hygiene, I shower frequently, shower every day. I don't, you know, I'm not like a, I don't know, like a bum or whatever. Like I take care of myself, but things like washing your hands, I don't do it frequently. I actually have a medical reason not to, but for the most part, it's choice. Choice being that exposure to germs strengthens your immune system, and I find that if you're overly clean and fussy all the time, like your body's not getting exposed to those little germs that it learns to deal with. That's a bit anecdotal because I'm talking about my own experience. It is based on things I've heard people with experience and knowledge say to be so. But in this case, I think it's being a bit twisted because, yeah, you're probably lowering the amount of stuff coming in, but it will come in for other places, the muck that you get on your hands, etc. And like the point is, it's not going to kill you. You're not going to wear a mask and all of a sudden your immune system's going to fall apart. It's just going to mean a little less comes through or whatever, right? And we should be making that sacrifice to solve this current situation, right? You sound like Dwight Schrute from The Office. Bears, beats, Battlestar Galactica. No, I don't. I've never heard someone say I sound like Schrute, Dwight Schrute. But I'll take it. He's one of my favourites from The Office. Okay, I'm so far behind on these noises in the ear. Nicola Conti is here for 2 months saying, "Hi X, greetings from Italy, how is it going?" It's going good, thank you. Sir Pingo with the Prime, Ren's Cold Sun for 7 months. We got Swarmknight 2 with the Prime, Echo Art for 16 months. We have ACG 1000, X Angel 1232 with the Prime. Gracious Grace Renee is here saying, with cheers and bits, thank you for the cheers and bits. I work an 11-hour night. I work 11 hours a night, 5 nights a week, in a mask, mandatory in my area, and it's certainly uncomfortable at times, especially during the more physical parts of my job, but I think it's my responsibility to the people in my community to wear and protect them. Thank you for doing so. Thank you for putting up with some discomfort for the safety of others. That is the attitude that I like. We can all agree that probably wearing it when doing physical activity is not ideal, but the whole situation right now is not ideal, right? And so we have to make sacrifices. I myself have been wearing a mask going to the shop. Got no problem with it. It does get a bit, you know, like when I get to the end of my shop, I get pretty hot and bothered, I've noticed, but that's not going to stop me from wearing it. And I noticed when I went to the shops this week, lots more people wearing masks over here, which I thought was a reasonable sign that things are probably going to go in the right direction. Oh, do you remember the other day when we were flying back and forth to get resources? Were they here the whole time? Probably. Should I press a derp for that, Summer? You're going to tell me to press the derp button? I think that's unfair. That happened ages ago, you know? Yeah, it's probably a derp. The problem is, many of the people anti-mask are being selfish. Ah, that one went off the screen. I wanted to read the rest of it. Wait, what are people doing? They're just putting up dirt faces in chat because I was talking about it. And some people are putting food in capital letters, which I never understand. I never understand why, you know, why the need to shout food. I'll see it eventually, right? Is it a doom mask when you wear when you go shopping, says Gushy. No, I mean wearing a protective mask over my doom mask, you know? Because I don't think my doom mask actually does the trick of a regular mask, right? It's not the same thing. So I put my my COVID mask, if you want to call it that, over the top of my doom mask. Okay, we got Daced745 for 3 months. Liam James 5 saying, "How do you feel about America right now?" Liam James 5, thank you for your cheers and bits. You know, like I love all countries, all people of the world. We all got different cultures. We all got amazing things to contribute. And so, you know, I love a lot of American history and the countryside and learning about the culture over there. Obviously, a lot of it's pop culture. There's a lot of beautiful stuff that comes from America, and it's the same for all countries. Every country has its shade of good and bad. And, you know, right now America's getting a lot of heat for the anti-masking movements and, you know, for how their response to COVID has been perceived as pretty poor elsewhere around the world, right? Like, let's not let these things separate us, okay? We're all people. We're all trying to figure it out. No one's got the answers. And, you know, there's a lot of criticism being levied in America's direction. And, you know, got to remember we're people as well, right? And then when there's big crowds of people, all of a sudden there's problems. So, well, I see other people being very blunt and rude in chat. It's silly to say you know, America is this or that, because there are so many different things in America, right? There are so many different things and people. I guess that's what I'm getting at. So I don't like to make a statement like, you know, America sucks or whatever. Like, it's got its problems, it's got its good things as well. It's the same as anywhere, really. And America's, you know, going through some tricky times, that is for sure. But there's no reason to like turn that into a statement of like America sucks or whatever. That's not how I look at it. Hey Sam says, not our fault that our president is wishing away the disease away. He is wishing it away, isn't he? Look, if you're for or against the guy, he talks with a lot of positive. Everything that ever happens, right? It's oh, we're doing great this, great that, about anything really, and that's fine. That's his rhetoric. Our guy over here does it as well. Boris Johnson, you know how he's handled this situation. It's kind of tricky for someone like myself to assess it based on what he says, because he's a positive speaker too. It's always, oh, great numbers, we're doing terrific, and that's not kind of like what I want to hear from a leader. I want to hear some honesty. I want to hear some direction, not just all's good, thumbs up kind of attitude, which is what Boris has. It's probably good for morale to have someone like that. But anyway, you know, like Trump's talks, of which I've seen a few on the news feed on YouTube lately. It's just, he's always talking positive. It's always as if, oh, it's just about to disappear all of a sudden. That's not the kind of leadership you want. You want someone who's gonna say, hey, situation's bad, we need to take action, we need to do something. Can't sit around waiting for it to just fix itself. And that leadership doesn't appear to be in sight. Right, DH Rabbit here with a donation saying, hey X, I found your channel at the start of quarantine. Your videos helped me smiling throughout it all. I was surprised to find out you play guitar. I brought myself a new Les Paul the other day. Are you familiar with The Voids? I am not, although I might be if you showed me like an album cover or a picture or something. Kind of rings a bell, but I know for sure it's not something I've properly checked out. That is for sure. But thank you for your donation, dude. I have never owned a Les Paul. All I ever play is Ibanez. Alright, Julian Casablanca from The Strokes. I've never really listened to The Strokes much. What do you think? What would you think if we got everyone infected, expect the elderly or people whose immune system is weak to the build-up of resistance? My parents used to say before the chickenpox vaccine that kids would send older siblings to have parties with infected kids so they would have an immunity. That happens to this day, I believe. It happened to me, and I believe it's a practice that's pretty much accepted as being something you should do when it comes to chickenpox. If there is differing opinions on that, I'm not aware of them, but it's just something I've accepted as normal and something you hear about, like literally talking about family and kids and this kid, that kid. Every now and then you'll hear the whole, oh, so-and-so's got chickenpox and we're sending the young ones over. And I believe it works. I mean, I could be wrong, like you never know until you hear something different, but that's just something I thought was normal and that has been normal. Now, it works for chickenpox, doesn't therefore mean it works for everything else. And I've heard about, again, horror stories from Reddit, but COVID parties, and the thing is, you know, just because it works for chickenpox doesn't mean it's the same for COVID, right? Until, look, we're at a really early stage. This thing hasn't even been around for a year, okay? It's going to take a lot of time to learn the ins and outs on how to deal with it and what are the long-term effects of some of the decisions we make as well. I've heard some people saying that apparently not everyone produces antibodies and can get COVID twice. So you might send a kid out to one of these parties and it doesn't even do the trick. It gets them sick and then they can get it again. Until we have all the knowledge in, it's really important to kind of hang tight and listen to professionals and to not take things into our own hands and be like, oh, well, we did this for chickenpox, let's do it for COVID, you know? I think it's sort of reasonable for chickenpox because it's more dangerous when you get it as an adult, says Jaku, who, yes, that's very true, that's the thing I've always heard, and perhaps that's why we do it. Maybe it is a little bit dangerous, a little bit risky, but we understand that if we don't do that when you're a kid, it will be really bad if you get it as an adult. So there are reasonings and whatnot behind why we do things particular ways. What the origin of those reasonings are, I do not know. It would be nice to actually learn the history of that. When did it come about? Was there a scientific consensus? Is it just built off of folklore, or like why is it we do things that way and not the other? I'm sure there's some information out there on that, and that would be fascinating to like learn and know about. I've heard herd immunity isn't working for COVID. I had chickenpox as a child. People are getting COVID-19 more than once. Also, kids are getting a dangerous syndrome from COVID-19, says Mayhem. I haven't heard about people getting a syndrome from it, but here's the thing, again, like, we're in early days, okay? There's things we're doing now we might learn in a couple of years, 10 years was a bad decision. But yes, what was the other point there? That you can get it twice. Yeah, that's the thing. Okay, it might not be like chickenpox. Okay, let's check it out. We've got Axel Van Dijk here for 3 months saying, hope everyone's happy and keep being careful if you guys still need going outside. Immediately clean yourself after going home. I'm not so sure if the whole washing hands thing is still like a big deal. It seems like a lot of advice has gone quiet on that now. It's more about masks, but yeah, you know, you can wash your hands more frequently, it'll make a difference. Bummchuck for 10 months saying whoop whoop. Thank you, dude. Mantaria Cyrus is here for 2 months saying, as a disabled person, not wearing one scares me. I rely on others wearing one to be able to stay alive. This virus, at best, would take what little mobility I have left and at worst kill me. It's scary to have my life in the hands of strangers. Yeah, I mean, and hopefully that's a convincing reason for anyone out there to consider wearing one. Just, you know, this thing is going around, it's dangerous. We can put on a mask and protect one another. Mantara, stay safe out there. I know it's difficult with that being in the hands of others, but do all you can as well. I'm sure you don't need me to tell you that. Jeez. Purple Goal is here with a donation saying, love your streams, I love your channel, keep inspiring us, Uma. Thank you ever so much, dude, appreciate it. We've got Sweet Silly here with a Prime. Banana Pants is here for 4 months, and Thick123 has subscribed. Do we have any more? Let's go check it. Let's go check it. tylerrosier is here for 8 months. My band and I finally finished mixing the album we've been working on. If you'd like to hear it, let me know. I can put the files. Bandcamp is the best place I like listening to music from, but you can tweet it at me, dude. I always like listening to new music. Saints Evolved is here with a Prime. We got Whoosh Master for 4 months saying, hey, X, don't really have a message. Thank you for the Asuma Says videos and the entertainment this year. No problem, dude. Thanks for watching and listening. We got +1 for you here with Cheers and Bits saying, US naturalized citizen here. On behalf of my fellow Americans, we are sorry to disappoint the world. Right now, we are not #1. We truly understand that. Please give us some time as we work on ourselves. Consider the US as experiencing technical difficulties. Hopefully, it will be fixed sometimes in November. Why November? Oh, right, November election. Loving the stream. Thank you for the cheers and bits, dude. We've got Salmon TV saying, I'm new to your streams and I love how you go about talking about these things, not asserting your opinion, but showing everyone where to get their own information and form their own beliefs. You and your fellow hermits are a glimmer of light in this world. Thank you ever so much, dude. I appreciate that. Yeah, and I always do my best to try and tell you what I think and what I know, the whys and the wheres of how that came about as well. I really think that's the better way to talk about many things. Give people the tools and the information to figure things out for themselves and understand how there is different conflicting information out there in the world. Right, I feel like doing something grindy. You know, I was going to do some building down here, but I should really learn by now that when I live stream, it's the time to do grinds where you don't have to think. So I'm going to knock that one off the list for now. that is what I'm going to do. I have a task for myself. Let's actually, yeah, I'm probably not gonna. Actually, no, I probably am gonna need to build with some of these materials soon. I'm gonna take a little supply of that since there's some over here. I'm gonna take it back. Yeah, that'll do me fine. School holidays have only just started in the UK, says Badger. Well, it feels like they've been on since March. What, with no one at school and all of that. But I've noticed just the last couple of days, like traffic on the roads has picked up in the last 10 days around here. Feels like, you know, more people are out and about moving. Hey X, what do you think about Kanye West being disrespectful for Harriet Tubman? I don't know who Harriet Tubman is. I personally can't take Kanye running for president seriously. I don't want to hate on the guy or anything, but I feel like he is a person who lives in a very ego-oriented world, and I don't think... It's hard to say that we shouldn't have like a celebrity president, but let's face it, we've got a lot of disdain for politicians. The people in general feel like we've been let down by career politicians, right? So it's not too much surprise that people would gravitate towards someone like him. I just wouldn't take him seriously. I wouldn't have taken Trump seriously, right? And I still don't. To be quite frank, I still don't. I don't think the man should be running a country, but hey, that's my opinion. Like, and so I don't know who this other person is. I haven't really seen what Kanye's been talking about. Ronald Reagan, says Emilio Presence. Yeah, he was a famous actor. Interesting character. I've learned quite a bit about Reagan. Listening to audiobooks, watching old documentaries about American presidents. Not a fan of his policies, but I don't know, interesting. Oh, by the way, Ronald Reagan has like the calmest voice ever. If you wanted someone to sit down at your bedside and tell you a bedside story and send you to sleep, it'd be Ronald Reagan. I'm not joking either. He has a really sort of friendly, soft voice, kind of like a Mr. Rogers. Right, what was I gonna do? Yeah, I remember now. I need some of these. I need some of those. Let's grab a couple of boxes. Actually, do you know what? I so don't know what to do with my time today because we're gonna waffle. I'm actually just gonna do something different now. Okay. Yo, if you're tuning in to watch some quality Minecraft, okay, it ain't gonna happen. I'm just gonna gather leaves. Like, that is just something that I need to do, and it's simple, and then I can waffle. Because apparently today is a waffle day. You know, if it's a waffle day, let's just do the waffle and get it over with. You know. Right, let's read some more cheers and bits noises in the ear, and then we can wrap up this chat on the masks, I guess. I have heard that even if you survive the coronavirus, it can often cause brain damage for those who have obtained it, says tylerrosier. What I have heard, my friend, is that it can be pretty severe to get COVID. Like, it can do lots of damage to your lungs. I hadn't personally heard brain damage, but there are a lot of unknowns, and it does seem like you can get it, get over it, but then be in this state after where your body really struggles to recover for a long time. There is, yeah, you could call it anecdotal. It's sort of, there's a lot of anecdotes about that, which suggests that there's a likelihood of it being nasty if you get it as well. Where was that? That was cheers and bits. Thank you, Tyler. Fishbone is here for 2 months. Thank you for a lovely message, dude. We got Shakira 96 with some cheers and bits saying, I'm currently a US expat. I hear that term so much, and it's one of those ones that I looked up and then like struggle to retain the information. But doesn't it mean you are from the US but you live somewhere else, right? the next line of the sentence kind of says that. I'm currently a US expat living within China. This whole experience has been crazy since it first started picking up at the beginning of the day. Currently, I'm just hoping that the world starts healing because I'm almost feeling locked out of going home at sometimes. But videos like yours help things keep a little more normal, so thank you. The crazy experience is in like lockdown, I'm guessing, as a whole. Yeah, I mean, what's kind of crazy is before all of this happened, I was coming around to this idea that it's really easy to focus on negativity, and I still think it's very true. Like, even during lockdown, you can, depending on where you are, I guess, go outside and enjoy a walk or nature. At least how lockdown was done here, you could still go outside to exercise, so you could go for a walk. I mean, I take a lot of enjoyment in little things like that, I guess. Maybe not everyone's the same way, but anyway, there's a propensity for us to focus on negativity. And so, having grown up through, you know, a bunch of different presidents and prime ministers, like, I realised that this nihilistic attitude kind of was present while things kind of got better in general. And maybe that's just personal and anecdotal. Maybe there's some aspects of that you can tie over and say, hey look, these numbers in society have got better. But yeah, there's this like propensity to focus on negativity. But then along comes COVID, and then it's like, geez, like how can you not focus on this? But we will prevail, because this world has been hit by pandemics before, and you know, suffering is a part of life. You're going to suffer in life. You can't avoid it. You know, death will come to us all and to family and friends, and there is tragedy in life as well as all the things that are beautiful about it as well, right? So you have to take both. And if you look at our history is fraught with pain and suffering everywhere. And it tends to be the things that we remember the most and think about. The Black Plague, World War I, World War II. But, you know, throughout all of that, were people able to be happy in between some of the bad things that happened, and maybe even during it? Of course. You know, life's got both good and bad, and sometimes you can turn your attention to one maybe more than's just, or maybe have the ability just to not take the negativity too much to heart sometimes. That's why when I consume news media, I tend to do it very lightly. I could see myself being one of these people that reads news articles all days and shares my opinions on this stuff, but I feel like that would be really negative for me to get sucked up into that world, because reading all these news articles, they're kind of like a bummer, right? They bring you down a bit, all these bad things happening in the world that we always report on. There is a lot of good stuff happening in the world every day. There's a lot of cooperation. Now, even through these bad times, we've seen people come together as well, right? Then we may have an anti-mask situation, but we also have a situation of people willing to just wear masks to help one another, right? And that is a really good thing. In fact, you know, the next time you see some anti-masking stuff that brings you down, just remember there's loads of people out there that are on board with this as well. There's loads of people that are like, hey, I want to do that. I want to pick up a mask and, you know, potentially protect others. Okay, that was some serious waffle right there. Some serious waffle. Where did we get to? Leah, 50 months, saying, woo, 50 months. I have a randomish question. What Hermitcraft season had the Ender as a space station? I wanted to get some inspiration from it. I am probably not the best person to tell you, because I don't tend to use the Ender mob farms. Every season of Hermitcraft since season 3, I believe I've always used a zombie pigman XP farm. That's just been my preferred choice. So I don't really remember the end farms that well. Last season, Doc built the end farm. Season 5, not a clue. Season 4, False? I think False might have built it, or was that like the entrance to it? Or maybe that was season 5. Actually, maybe it's season 6. I've used the Ender farms so little on Hermitcraft that I can barely remember them. I remember season 1 was, or was it season 2, was Hypno. Hypno built the one at one point. Maybe it was season 1. Anyway, yeah, there you go. Actually, I definitely, now I think about it, I definitely used it in season 1. I remember what it looked like, but that's probably not the one you're after. That's when, like, decorating farms and stuff wasn't really a thing. In fact, back then, decorating stuff in general wasn't a big deal. Every time you sip your tea, I panic because it sounds like a zombie. For real? Well, if that sounded like a zombie, I apologise. That's the last sip. Official Jaden is here, gifting a sub to Official Derpbot. Official Derpbot? Oh dear. Thank you for gifting the sub. Anna Bombanana gifting a sub to Nebula Dragon 32. Anna, thank you for gifting yet another sub. Appreciate it. That kid Eric is here for 6 months. You have to cancel your sub. No problem at all, dude. Thank you so much for 6 months of support. It is appreciated. Hope to see you at future streams, of course. And thank you for your support. We got Lego Gymnast for 2 months and Starlight Fate. Thank you ever so much. Appreciating the support. Appreciating all the subscriptions. Thank you, peeps. Right, let's move the discussion on, okay? I wanted to talk about Deep Space Nine. Spoiler alert, spoilers ahead, possibly. I'll try and keep the spoilers down, but let's face it, I can't. So I think everyone's been through this, right? As a person, you can find yourself with like a fair amount of attachment to things like TV shows. You get emotionally invested in characters, and then when it finally ends, it's like, oh, it's like you've got this empty space inside of you. Well, I've been through that a fair few times, and at one point I kind of stood back and thought, like, that's gonna, like, should I feel this way about stuff that's television that's not real people, right? Is it healthy? I'm not sure, but if I just acknowledge that it's there and think about it, it helps me make not as big a deal about it. I can be a very emotional person if I'm not, like, keenly aware of it. And so in the past, I've, like, gotten through movies, TV shows, things have happened, bands have split up, it happens with, like, music as well, and then get incredibly emotional about it and upset. And, like, it's often like a nostalgia thing, right? Like, you can be nostalgic for something, yet it can be something you really like, but you're kind of saddened at the same time. Well, I definitely didn't want that to happen when, you know, watching... It hasn't happened for a long time, really. But I think how good Deep Space Nine is really kind of hit me when it was over. And I haven't been, you know, feeling that kind of downwards nostalgia or anything like that. I think I got a grip on how I feel about these things these days, right? And so now I'm just in this, like, post Deep Space Nine period where I'm just kind of like obsessing over it, like thinking about all the characters, the storylines, and just appreciating it so much more now that I've gotten to the end of it. I've just realized, like, wow, that character had all these key pivoting points in different episodes that you can look back on and really think about, and think about how your opinion of the characters changed over time. It's really great for that. I also think if I'd have watched that when I was younger, I wouldn't have appreciated it the same way I did now, where you can watch it concurrently, because they serialized content back then. It used to be very episodic. If you've ever watched TV from the 80s, pretty much all 80s TV and before it is very episodic. The idea of a show is that they introduce you to a cast of characters, and then every time you tune in, maybe that's once a week, or depending on the seasonality of it, like, those characters that you know from those episodes are going to have like a mini 1 episode contained adventure. And that's episodic TV, and it had been like that for a long time. Then somewhere in like the 90s, I think things started to shift a little bit, and of the different TV shows I've watched over the time, I think a show like The Wire is probably one of the best serializations you're ever going to see. Maybe something like Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones comes close a little later, but there was a show before The Wire that I think is probably one of the first to really embrace serialization throughout, and that is The Sopranos, which I've only ever watched once, but I was like massively impressed with it, and I thought, oh, here's a show I'll go watch again one day, right? I think it was crime dramas like CSI that introduced the idea of A-arc continuity along with B-arc episodic episodes, says Cowdery Gal. It could well be. I'm speaking from my own experience of things that I've watched, right? Like, it's like that in music as well. Like, I love to explore music, and you can sometimes just like stumble across like something in a genre you like that's like a few years behind stuff you've heard since, and you're thinking like, oh, I thought that band invented this sound, but I can hear it here. I got a pretty rich understanding of like heavy metal and all of its like origins and diversions and whatnot. And yeah, and like every now and then you might just stumble across something and then realize its influence. I'm currently like re-listening to some Bathory records and just kind of hearing them differently now because I've heard so much more music since I last listened to those albums when I was a teenager. And anyway, getting a little bit off topic, like, you can only say so much as you know. I'm not a TV expert, but it certainly seems like the 90s was the place where this happened, and Deep Space Nine was one of the oh, Monsters nearby. Deep Space Nine was one of these first shows to embrace serialization, as they told it, because I watched a documentary about it that came out a couple of years ago. And by the way, the documentary is really cool if you're a fan of Deep Space Nine, and they kind of give you like a hint at what Season 8 would be about. And it's really quite fascinating to see them speculate over how an 8th season of the show, or at least its opening episode, would go. But a lot of the serialization they talked about was in context to Star Trek, and because I watched Deep Space Nine without much expectation, I think the main thing I wanted from Deep Space Nine was that kind of 90s pace and tone that you'd get from like the Next Generation. But because I had no expectations of it, I very much enjoyed it for what it is. And in that show, they wholeheartedly embrace people that criticize their show, fans that think that Deep Space Nine was not good for Star Trek, right? I have no investment in the Star Trek brand to care if Deep Space Nine is Star Trek or not. So I just enjoyed it for what it is. And I think there's a lesson to be learned. Like, whatever it is you go and watch, spend your time enjoying, if you go in there with expectations, those expectations can lead to disappointment, right? And so if you want something to be a certain way, like, hey, this new movie's coming out and you're invested in that series and I hope it's like the one they did in that year, you can set yourself up to be disappointed, but also you can look right past what the thing is. So when I like get into something, especially with music, also with TV shows and movies, I try to not be like, oh, I hope this is like this other movie it reminds me of, right? Like, try and just see what it is and enjoy it for what it is. And I did that with Deep Space Nine. And then now that I'm like post-watching Deep Space Nine, I'm diving into all the YouTube video essays, all the fan content, seeing people's opinions on the shows, listening to these like run-throughs of the characters and people's opinions on them, and like getting really deep into it now, like really kind of rethinking through everything and realizing how well fleshed out that show was. Really fleshed out. So much of the storyline elements meant a lot to the characters later on in the show, which was really cool. I picked up on a lot of it while I was watching it, but just hearing other people talk about it just makes it all so much clearer sometimes. And sometimes I just talk and forget where I was going with that. Does this philosophy appeal to the sequels of Star Wars, says Bago Chips? Absolutely it would. And that is something that I watched expecting, you know, the Star Wars prequels to be like the Star Wars movies. And I don't think I could therefore go and rewatch those movies as if they were their own thing. Maybe I could, but I've already seen those. However, the next time something like that happens, like maybe if they make a 5th Indiana Jones movie, I should approach it with that same attitude. Because you're probably more likely to find enjoyment in something if you're not so invested in it being a particular way, right? And I think that's pretty cool. We're being raided. My chat has absolutely exploded. Beyond belief. Beyond belief. I can't believe how much chat spam. That is literally mental chat spam going on. Welcome all the raiders. I'm behind on my noises in the ear. Let's catch up quickly. We got... Where did we get to? Lego Gymnast. We read that one. Starlight Fate. Thank you for subscribing. Intermediate Ghost here for 7 months. Sniper Rifle for 13. So it's been a little while. Keep doing the fun stuff. Thank you. Cutie Pie Kitten is here with 46 months. Just joined the stream. How's your day? It's been alright. It's been a bit under on the energy side of things, right? Been lacking a little bit of oomph in my day, but gonna eat more tomorrow and try and get my energy sorted out. Iskal with the raid. Thank you so much, Iskal. Appreciate it. If you're there, I'm collecting leaves for Bernie. I'm feeling the burn. This hoe of mine is feeling the burn. Do you want to know? Actually, no, I'm not going to tell you. I don't want anyone to know. Oh, wait a minute. This makes no sense because I literally tell everyone in my video. Well, don't tell the other hermits. Now that I've said it, you're going to tell the other hermits. Oh. Oh. Where are we going here? Let's go for times used and then look for the netherite hoe. It'll be getting up here. 36,000 uses of the netherite hoe. Okay, that gives you a hint as to how invested I am in netherite blocks and obtaining them. My lips are sealed, says Zircon. Brilliant. Thanks. Appreciate it. Thanks. Lady Gecko here for 4 months. K-Did for 13. Dennis 2102 with a prime. Clown BZcraft for 13. Banfi Tar with a subscription. Spriggin the Dryad here at Cheers and Bits saying had to finish watching the bust, otherwise would have been here earlier. Well, welcome to the stream, dude. Appreciate it. Last week's Lasagna here subscribing. We've got Anna Bombanana gifting a sub to Anna Banks. Appreciate you with a gifted sub there, Anna. Big Papa House for 16 months. We got Sarah Carable for free and TM203 with a prime. Awesome. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Peeps are saying oak leaves only. I'm very aware that it's only oak leaves. Thank you for absolutely everyone in chat spamming that at me because I don't know what started that, as I've literally just been harvesting oak leaves. Well, I say literally. Occasionally I pick up some jungle, but I don't, you know, I'm not going to submit them to Iskal, right? But anyway, all the peeps that have come over here from the raid, be sure to hit the follow button if you enjoy Hermitcraft. I do regular streaming over here on Twitch, where I pretty much always play on Hermitcraft. And if you guys are interested in Hermitcraft, on my second channel, or you could just go to YouTube and search Hermitcraft Shadow, learned about shadow seeds, and like, that is such a cool thing to have in Minecraft. Every seed, every world has a shadow seed. It's so interesting, and so I watched Ant Venom's video about it, and then I started thinking like, oh, it'd be so cool to see them side by side, and that got my brain ticking over. How could I see them side by side? And then I came up with this really hacky idea to write some AHK code to take my coordinates on the clipboard from one Minecraft and paste them into the other. And like, I made this hacky script that would just do, like, you couldn't do anything on the computer but just look at Minecraft. But what it would do is it would take the coordinates and move them to the other screen. So I could move around on one side of the screen and then you would see the shadow seed on the other one in these same coordinates. It was a really fun little experiment. Really fun. You should go check it out. Official IdaBot is here with the cheers and bits saying, "Lol, hello Shashwam, your reaction when official Jaden gifted a sub to me was perfect, thanks. To the time you spoke about a derp officiator." Yeah, official derpbot. I was struggling to read it and then it like processed in my brain. Derp? Derpbot? Surely not. Appreciate you, dude. Thank you for the cheers and bits. How did you learn to code, X? Says Potato Ken. I didn't code. It's very... AHK is very, like, entry-level friendly. Well, actually, it's not entry-level friendly. It's not friendly at all. It's actually quite difficult to work with, but it's sort of not coding. It's more like copy-pasting, basic sort of set of instructions. It's... I don't know. It was just... It's kind of like making a website by copy and pasting HTML and CSS, right? It's kind of that level of coding, if you even want to call it that. But you know, all I had to do was like look up some command procedures for sending different keystrokes to the different games, and I already had the application, the AHK application, to focus the particular Minecraft window, so a lot of the stuff was already written and I was just going to take in existing tools and repurposing them. Yeah, so it's like not impressive, but for me it was fun. It was just kind of hacky and fun. Right, so we got Expert Kibbles 56 for 5 months. We got Mayhem subscribe. We got Toguro Joe for 21. We got Southern Links 95. Zack Attack 2097. Katara LP for 2 months. We got Nagaran 9412 with a cheers in a bit. Saying Hex just joined from Iskow. Do you know it's only oak leaves? I do know that. Thanks for the heads up. Thank you for the cheers and bits. We got Albar 9 with the cheers and bits. Saying hope you're well, Asuma. I'm doing good, thanks. Gonna drink a little bit of water right here. Oh, apparently I needed to drink a lot of water. Apparently. Matt Sabu is here for 18 months as well. Thank you, Matt Sabu. Appreciate it. So let's get back to our Deep Space Nine talk. So I was kind of talking about how, like, some Star Trek fans didn't receive it very well. You know, I knew none of that going into watching that show. And one of the reasons was because it's a little darker. People thought that there shouldn't be war in Star Trek, which I can kind of understand. Like, it's nice to have a show that doesn't delve into dark things just because dark things can be entertaining, and Star Trek was definitely that. But, you know, you've got that. It's not like they were changing the original Star Treks, and there are a few other things people didn't like about it. Personally, I thought it was really well handled. And looking back over the seasons, all of the characters have really significant arcs, I think. My favourites being Kira's is probably my favourite. Odo and Garrick are my favourite character. Well, Garrick's got less of an arc, but he's more of like a favourite character. He becomes quite significant to events later on in the show. Kira was probably like less appreciated until right towards the very end. It like became really obvious when you reflect on where she is when she starts in the show, that you've watched like a tremendous amount of personal growth for that character, and it's almost like she's like a different person but without ever changing her principles or what she stands for, which I thought was really great. Odo is just fantastic on so many levels. My friend was telling me that like each show of Star Trek has the non-human that tries to be human, and I've been thinking over that, right? So Voyager has the Doctor, who's a hologram, but he's incredibly human, and then you have Data in The Next Generation, and it may have not been intentional to write these characters that way, but it's pretty typical of Star Trek to try and be like representative. Like they always try and put in some character that like you know, ticks check boxes, and they're not doing it because of some like, you know, I don't know, agenda. Like it's all about the philosophy of the show. They're always trying to teach you something. Star Trek is really like philosophical, jeez, and like sometimes political. Like a lot of the stories and the characters and the fact that they're different races and how the races interact, they're all kind of like allegories for humans. Like you can pretty much look at the Cardassians in Deep Space Nine like they're Nazis, and you can look at the Bajorans like they're Jews, and the events that happened before the series start is basically like the Holocaust, which is pretty darn dark. And that leads me to another character I think is absolutely brilliant, is Gul Dukat. Okay, I'm going to make this a little bit spoiler alert, so if you're watching Deep Space Nine, maybe just turn down the volume for a couple of minutes here. I've got to say that I think that Gul Dukat is another really brilliant character. Thinking back on all the episodes with him, he spends a lot of the time trying to convince everyone that he's the nice guy who basically oversaw the Holocaust, right? And you were almost convinced of it for a lot of the show. And right at the tipping point where you might be convinced that he's not so bad after all, it's Kira who kind of stands her ground against him. And then after that, later on in the show, he does another nasty thing, another one, and then they really plunge his character into despair when he just can't accept that people don't see him as a good guy. And from there, he just becomes utterly atrocious. But it's almost like when you reflect on it, he was always atrocious. He just had this charm that made you want to like him. And I think that made him a really brilliant character. One of the characters I don't think had a significant arc, but was still a great character, was Quark. Quark kind of actually, like, there's quite a few episodes with Quark where they're like, he's a Ferengi, he represents basically all the worst aspects of capitalism and humanity, right? All the bigotry of humanity, etc. And they always put him in these situations where it's like they try and give him as much closeness to that little ledge to step over the line, but he never actually does. He always comes back to just being a die-hard Ferengi. And I think it's kind of cool to do that with a character in a show, to not make everyone's arc so significant. There's just such an amount of variety and complexity to all the characters. It's really terrific. Anyway, let's take it over to chat now. Like, I wanted to get all of that off my chest because I've just spent the last couple of days just indulging in Deep Space Nine fan-made content and thinking it over and all of that. So I know there's some Deep Space Nine fans out there. Maybe share some opinions, something along those lines. Hey X, what about podcast channels do you recommend? PS love Deep Space Nine. I recommend Star Talk. There you go. Go look up Star Talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson. You can unmute. Spoilers gone, peeps. I've never heard someone talk so deeply about Star Trek, says Nightmare Gaming. Well, I would say it's a show that's got a lot of depth to it. Like, I feel like I'm just reflecting what the show offers. Star Trek definitely has tons of these disposable mini adventure episodes that don't really do or go anywhere, but it's also got lots of really get you thinking episodes. Some of the people in chat will probably be able to tell me, but Rusty Stone saying there's a comparison between Sisko and Ducat and how they both loved Bajor in a different way. Yeah, and something about Sisko, he does two things that totally cross the line, right? There is a planet that he gasses and the Romulan that he assassinates. He does two things in that show that totally throw him over the line. And I think it's really clever how they show someone of his integrity being compromised like that for the greater good of the war effort and all of that. It really speaks to that whole, the death of one to save a million sort of line of thinking. I like Deep Space Nine because the action had to come to the crew instead of the crew going to the action. Yeah, I like that too. I like that it was stationary and on the station. That was another sort of fan complaint about the show, was that some people didn't like that they weren't out exploring. Well, we got a show where they're out exploring. We've got 3 of them, so it's nice to have something different thrown in there as well, right? Anyway, what I was going to say was, some people in chat will be able to tell me, what's the episode, is it called A Measure of a Man, where they discuss about data in The Next Generation? If you've got Netflix, maybe start with that episode. If you want a show that's deep, that can really get you thinking, I think it's called A Measure of a Man, and it's with data and it's in The Next Generation, and it's just such a brilliant episode. I feel like every time I watch it, you end up thinking or seeing something new in the whole discussion. That is correct, says C. Joyce. Yeah. I might even go just watch that one again today because I love it so much. They use Data as such a brilliant character to explore very difficult questions. There's one where he tries to create a daughter, and because he's a synthetic life form, they're like, oh, you can't do this, and then all these questions arise, and all his answers are pretty much the same as well, what's the difference between me wanting to have a child and two people wanting to conceive one biologically together? It's so deep and fascinating, and Star Trek has that, in quite a lot of places. It's one of the things the show aims to do, is to get you thinking, really. So yeah, anyone who's you know, never checked out Star Trek The Next Generation, I highly recommend that. I would recommend by starting with a couple of the great episodes just to see what it offers, because Star Trek The Next Generation, like Deep Space Nine, it has a really awkward opening couple of episodes. They both start off with this just really like big and ambitious sort of theatrical approach that doesn't kind of reflect the rest of the show. So, you know, I could see how if you just started on episode 1 on both of those shows, it might be off-putting. But they're really good. To the peeps in chat saying, have you seen Picard? Yep, it's not Trek like it used to be. It's a very modern-y, action-y type of show where the stakes have to be unbelievably grand and epic all the time, and it's got that kind of fast-paced ruggedness to it. It's, you know, I went into that really wanting to see The Next Generation again, and I set myself up for disappointment. And there were definitely bits of that show that I enjoyed, like the sort of like episodes 7, 8, and 9 maybe, but I didn't really like the conclusion that much, and yeah, might have set myself up for disappointment inadvertently there. TV shows growing their beard comes from Riker in The Next Generation, says Ethan E. Ping. It'd be kind of crazy to imagine that no one grew a beard on television before that, but possibly it's the thing. Personally, my favourite season is Voyager, but Deep Space Nine is a close second. Kariko, I never quite got dragged into Voyager, but I'm gonna give it a bit of time and try and get into that one. Right, let's read some noises in the air. Where did we get to? Matsabu for 19 months in a row. Thank you so much, dude. Appreciate it. We also got Alabar here. Alabar9 gifting a whole bunch of subs to people. How generous. How generous. GG Butters, Emerald Dreams, Yardy, Val032, D Famine, Same Accord, Jonas DK2300, Seflu May, /V2, and Jankson. Thank you ever so much for tuning in. You've been gifted a sub by Alabar9 and Lezoroko. No, let's try it again. Elzorok for 2 months. Teef Ordianelgus. I probably definitely butchered that name. Thank you for subscribing. We got Ninja Star and Axano here for 3 months, and Leon IXC has subscribed as well. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. If you like Deep Space Nine, check out Babylon 5. It hooked me with a grand storyline and overlapping story arcs and absolutely amazing character evolutions. The way Gakar and Londo changed from the beginning to the end was an amazing story. Lescandos, I will probably watch Babylon 5 at some point. I'm aware of what it is and its similarity to Deep Space Nine. I actually picked Battlestar Galactica to watch next, and I watched the very first episode of the mini-series before the first series, which is confusing. I watched that, and the tone of it was really quite different from Star Trek. But again, if I watch it like, oh, I want another Star Trek, then, you know, might end up being disappointed when actually it's a good but different type of show. So I'm probably going to watch that. I'm also kind of watching a bit of Voyager, and eventually I'll get around to watching Babylon 5. But try not to get dragged in too many different directions with watching stuff, you know. Sapphire Blue says, I'm rewatching Voyager now, 3rd time through. I believe I find it more enjoying this time around. Yeah, sometimes you enjoy stuff more the older you get. You just see more things in it, perhaps. Like, I think I wouldn't have enjoyed Deep Space Nine if I'd have watched it 10 years ago. Because I was less open-minded then, and maybe I would have watched it thinking like, oh, Next Generation 2.0, but it's not. You know, that's kind of what happened with Voyager a little bit, is I just thought the show was inferior to Next Generation. Do you watch any current TV or reality TV, says Alpenglarp. I don't watch reality TV. I say that, I've never been lured into particular types of it. Maybe there's some stuff that I've watched in the past that is reality TV. Like, I remember watching The Osbournes as a kid. Let's see, I'm live, but what I'm going to do is open up my clicker, right? It's better not mess anything up. I'm going to select my Minecraft window. Let's put it into mob mode and then get it grinding. Yep, that works. Oh, and I made a fatal mistake. Let's stop it. that needs to be up here. Right, now we'll get it going. And I'll turn my attention over to the noises in me ear. We got Big Papa House with Cheers and Bits saying, X, what's the best way to start on a streaming channel? A tour of an existing world or starting a new world from scratch? Big Papa House, if you're starting a channel, most important thing is to not... Oh, I can't look at you because there's these things in the way. Is to not focus on success when you start a channel. It's to focus on your own experience, what would be enjoyable. So I would pick what would be most enjoyable for you. If you want a path to your content being enjoyed by others, you need to enjoy it yourself. So if one is more appealing than the other, go with the more appealing one and base that on your enjoyment, your experience creating content and playing the game. Jim Fleps, I've heard of Firefly. That was a show I watched probably like 20 years ago and I just didn't like it, but you know, I was a different person then. So I actually spent a little bit of time after Deep Space Nine researching, they called it a soap opera, a space opera, which is a term that would just turn me off, right? But hey, maybe I'm into that, you know? Anyway, I looked through a whole list of like similar content and found all these shows and Firefly was one of them. So I've always considered myself to not really be that into sci-fi, but I think it's like most things, like I tend to not really gravitate to something just because it is. Like here's something that I do, like in the past I used to watch like loads of horror movies. I loved horror movies. Not so much anymore because I've just seen too many of them. But I would have said like I was a fan of horror and I'd gravitate towards that. But I don't feel that way about too much other stuff. Like I feel like something can be of any type of thing and it can be good or bad. And it should focus on what's like good or bad more than the genre, I guess. That even makes any sense. Your mic is muted, says Grian's Potato. I think your speakers might be, mate. Sergeant Morningwood123 with a Prime and Nickel1. Thank you ever so much for your subscription, appreciate it. Do you like Star Wars, says Largo Banner. I do like Star Wars. I think I like Star Trek more, but I don't know why they have to be put on scales and compared against one another. They're really quite different. They're totally different things. You know, Star Wars is more action, entertainment, that kind of thing. Great, you know, great action and entertainment. Some of the best movies, right? Some of the best movies out there. But Star Trek's a different kettle of fish. It's more about philosophy and examination of like ideas and social political type stuff, right? Pastor says, how about The Expanse? I want to start watching that. Do it, my friend. Do it. Start watching The Expanse. The Expanse is absolutely great. Season 1's alright. Season 2, like, heck of a lot better. This is good. Season 3 is just like, mind blown. Season 4, not sure how I feel about it. It was kind of good to watch it, but it felt like the momentum perhaps was lost a little bit. We got a donation here, noise in the ear, from Mad Cujo, saying, I know this seems a little off topic, and if you're not familiar, it may not seem like it's something worthwhile, but have you watched The Orville? While it's obviously a bit of a parody, I think the show is much more of what makes Star Trek so great over the years. Mad Kojo, thank you for the donation, thank you for the recommendation. I'm aware of that show, it's been suggested to me before. I'm not a fan of Seth MacFarlane and his sense of humour, really. So that's like a big turn off for me, and the like look of the show and the tone of it from like the trailers that I've watched of it, again, just seems like a big turn off. But you never know until you watch it. Maybe one day I will. I think I've got like a lot more other stuff on the list before it. The Expanse Season 4 wasn't supposed to happen as it got cancelled, then picked up several months later, hence the strange vibe Season 4 has, says Tabsy Ragu. Well, it's not that. Like, I think when the writers were making the show, they didn't make Season 3 end without a Season 4, right? It just got cancelled, so they couldn't continue the story. When it came back, it just felt like the momentum of it was different, and it went in a different direction. I don't know what the origins of that is. Maybe it is all tied to how it was cancelled, but I don't know. It just felt so different, right? It's a bit more of a comedy, says Bored Person. Yeah, maybe if I just watched it and, you know, see what it is and see if I like it, I might enjoy it, but I've got other stuff on the list at the moment. Ethan2406 is here with a Prime subscription. Thank you so much, Ethan. Appreciate it. Anna Banks says, I don't really like movies, but I like YouTube or Twitch. Not a fan of movies. That's interesting. I feel like movies is such a easy thing to enjoy, but yeah, I can get it. You know, everyone enjoys their content in different shapes and forms, right? Personally, I love movies. I think, yeah, just the whole thing's great. Like, anyway, Hermy1 Durful is here, subscribing with Amazon Prime. Thank you so much. We got XGinXX gifting a sub to XGinXEddyXX85. Wow, similarities in the name right there. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I think I might move on from collecting leaves. Actually, might look at my list again. We've had a bit of a waffle. I feel like I need to get something more productive done. Should we do something else, peeps? What do you want to see? Leaf collecting or some building? Dem's the options. I need to drink some water, by the way. I think I need a cough as well. Definitely more for building there. Someone in chat said that season 1 and 2 of The Expanse cover the books. Well, the thing is, I think season 3 is the best by far. Like, season 3 was just mind-blowingly good. So, I wouldn't attribute it entirely to the book if that's the case, but that's just how it was for me. Anyway, we're going to get like the leaves off this little bit right here, and then we'll shoot back. I'm not going to do any more than that. Just got this tree over here to get, and then we'll shoot back. I find sci-fi harder to watch than fantasy, probably because more sci-fi is live action, which I find harder to watch than animation, and it tries to justify and explain fictional elements, which means I don't enjoy it as much because I like figuring out how those things work for myself, says Trin Silverphonix. Interesting, interesting. I'd say, yeah, that's definitely a thing, like in sci-fi, and I also don't particularly like the over-explanation. I definitely like it when things are more feasible and believable in sci-fi, but if they're not going to be like terribly realistic, I think it's sometimes smart for those sorts of shows to not address it so much. Like, there's so much of this like crazy technology in Star Trek with like, they always just at some point find a solution where it's like, oh, but what if I realign the matrix confibulator with the Rigardian coil? And then they're like, oh, that's genius. Some tachyon pulse particles will defibrillate the Wassamahoodle. You know, it's like, it's just techno jargon. And they always seem to find some techno jargon solution in like the crucial point of a problem. So it's like, well, if there's always these like ingenious solutions to stuff, like why do they never happen beforehand, or why do the enemies never have these, or why is it like it, you know, it's all too convenient, right? Technobabble, that's the one, yeah. It's all too convenient, so you just kind of accept it for what it is, and the storylines can still be good. But it is one of those things, like when you're watching Star Trek, like especially when they interact with the computer, it's so funny to think like how there are things about the computers that would just that we have today that would just be better than what they have on Deep Space Nine. Like they're like, all of a sudden someone's missing from the station, right? And they're like, oh, where was the last location? And it's like, oh, Commander Sisko left the station 1 hour ago. And it's like you would have computer systems that far into the future that would track and monitor everything all the time. Like, and not only that, the computer would probably solve loads of problems as well. Like if an intruder came on the ship, it would just be like, shut all the doors around you, put you in a containment field because you're an unknown entity on this ship. Like, we can understand the automation that we have now would like do a better job than what they imagined on these shows. That's what I find really funny. That's what I find funny. Like seriously, if someone gets beamed off your ship, like your ship's computer should be like detecting all the people on board and know the second someone goes missing. But it's, yeah, it's just not how they saw computers being used back then, I guess. But anyway, those flaws are only ever going to just reduce your enjoyment of it if you focus on it too much. Right, where's all the AI, says DJ Anakin. Exactly, where's all the AI? Like, they even have it. They even use that terminology because they were obviously like interested in the future and things that are possible, but it never pans out quite the same way. So like data is artificial intelligence, but you know, even data has like these sort of limitations that even stuff we've got today kind of shows, hey, you could have done this differently or better or whatever, right? Anyway, here's what I want to do. I want to grab some stone materials. Probably took too much right there. So is the Borg, says Mad Cow Chow. Yeah, the Borg have some like convenient flaws as well. They seem to be all like superior and brilliant a lot of the time, and then they just have some simplistic flaws that seem very overcomable. Alright, anyway, let's fly over here. What's your opinion on direct parodies like Space? I don't know what Space as a parody is, but you know, a parody is good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. Like a lot of things. It's... Ooh, I might be spoiling stuff. It looks like Corrales is doing something over here. Well, what I wanted to do is come over here. I had this idea to build these little honey lamps over the sides. Oh, I've actually kind of built up more on this than I realised, right? So this is built up to here. And then I think what we want to do is change like the road design or something. So I kind of, yeah, okay, here's where we're at. I kind of forgot that I built up this bit. I pictured it in my mind as needed doing. So I feel like we want to install some sort of like honey lamps, which maybe don't go up above the road, maybe they stick up out the sides. But then I was thinking we could have a different road design along here, so maybe we try and take advantage of these new blocks. Let's mess around with it a little bit, right? Like, what if we have... Now, immediately, I kind of want my block placement to match up with this over here. Let's not think about it too much. Let's say we go... have this pillar come all the way up, right? I do not know why I couldn't jump then. And now it's because there's something above me. So we could bring it up to there. And then we could put some andesite. Now I'm also thinking, what if we had like this? And it goes across, maybe with a little bit of an indent, or maybe not. If we have an indent, we need something significant down here. I always love the music in your streams, says Smashmouth. We're listening to Crinkles today. Where can we find this sweet music, says Clubsy. You can search for Crinkles. Crinkles music on Bandcamp, I believe. Charcot, people are saying. Charcot? Do you like synthwave, says Towers. Yeah, I like synthwave. I was listening to a record earlier today and writing about it on my music blog that had like some really strong synthwave influences, which were good. They were good. It was an interesting record. Charrot, lots of people are saying. Why are people saying Charrot? By the way, noises in the ear. Sarch 360 with the Prime, and Mr. Skipperdo for 2 months. DJ Anakin for 2 months, and MC Hadder gifting a sub to Tank Wolf. Thank you ever so much for the support as always, people. I forgot how much I loved another update. So amazing, says Anna Bakes. Is that because of these new textures, right? I think it's going to fit in pretty well over here. I think I might want to roughen up the road a little bit though with some details later on. That's for sure. Let's grab our stone block. This has actually got, you know, some textures that might be relevant here. But I'm pretty sure I know what I want to do. That being said, I don't want to use blackstone over here. Blackstone's too much. Too much. We're gonna mix a little bit of old with the new. Do you know what's better than that? It's this. This is better than that. If we chuck a bunch of this in here, we can make a bunch of those. I could mix them up, you know. I could go like that and that, and then some of that as well. Who's coming to kill me? I could have swore I heard something coming to kill me. Chicken plus parrot equals chariot. Okay. Use netherite blocks, says Shovik. Oh yeah, what do I think of that? What do I think of that? Should we use nether brick blocks instead of this material for the entire road? I think that would be a good use of my time. That would be a good use of my time. See if we just mix it up a bit. Oh, I'm missing something here. Maybe not a crazy amount, just... well, that's pretty balanced. Just go with that all the way across, right? Might get a little dull. It's going to be a very flat design. It's not going to have a lot going on. I think what it needs is maybe this and then a little something here. Now, I want to put a soul lantern there instinctively because it's a new block, but if we think about it, the lantern makes so much more sense, especially with it being yellow. Just brings you into the area a little bit more. So, yellow lanterns are good. Use grey shulker boxes filled with netherite blocks for the road, says Maurice. Maurice! Oh, I'm such an idiot. Why would I think of making this road out of netherite blocks? I should blatantly build it out of shulker boxes filled with... What do you mean no one would look inside the shulker boxes? Look, when you're going down a road made in Minecraft out of shulker boxes, you're going, wow, this looks like a proper real road. But I also know it's a shulker box, and I'm going to open that shulker box, and if I don't see netherite block stacks, the illusion will be broken. I will forever see nothing but filthy grey shulker boxes. You know? You know? I know. I know you know. That might be the way to do it. I also feel like maybe like a chain hanging down, but that's probably a bit much. We need production value here that gets things done. Another thing that might help is just to maybe say this middle column actually goes the other direction. That kind of works. That just breaks up some of the monotonous of the texture right there. The monotonous. Oh, it's so monotonous. Right, someone says andesite walls. Maybe. I think I'm going to go with this. I think I'm going to go with this right here. Let's build up a couple more sections and then maybe never think about it again. Maybe just be like, that's it, it's done. Finito, finished, get out of here. 3, 4, 5. Once I caught a fish alive. Jeez, counting with X. We got noises in the air. Tenkel Max for 30 months. Hasbo 56 and the Lazy Tate with the Prime subscriptions. Thank you, peeps. Thank you. Appreciate it. Assume as sarcasm is sarcastic, says Anna Bombanana. Don't you mean fantastic? I think you got your words wrong there. I like the chain idea better. Makes more sense. Yeah, but like, I guess... Well, I guess what I could do is break that, put that there, have it hang, change these blocks. We'll give it a try, actually, because I thought of a different way of doing it now. Now we got to go get some chains. Oh, effort. Oh, now I got to go up here. Also, up the top might also be a place for lanterns, right? I did talk about building some honey-themed lamps. Maybe just that. Although maybe a honey block and then the lamp, right? Would probably look a bit awkward and weird, that, but we should give it a try. Because I like things that are awkward and weird. I'll tell you what. Oh, no, now, okay, I had an idea then, but then I realised it's just going to go deep down the well of over-decorating. When you decorate on a large scale, simplicity is your friend. If you try to do something big and repetitious with a lot of detail, not only will it slow you down, sometimes that detail doesn't look so great when it's scaled upwards. Sometimes you need, you know, your big repetitive build to just kind of have just the right balance of stuff so you can look at it and go, cool. If you overload it with detail, then it can be a little harder to appreciate sometimes, right? Oh, I might have overdone that. I've probably definitely overdone that. I haven't even got the thingies. Yeah, the thingies. What do you mean, what are the thingies? You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Let's chuck that over there. Empty shulker box here could probably do with some materials in it. Just going to throw it down there for now. Okay, so chains be 1, 2, 3, maybe go down by 3. Nah, don't look right. Don't look right, son. Yeah, that's better. That's better. That's what you want, peeps. You know, that's what you want, apparently. Your decision. I'm putting it on you. If it don't look good, it's your fault, chat. My dog ate my mouse, says the Chase. You know, when I started reading that, I thought it was a joke, but then I realised that could be happy, and that's sad. Sorry, that could be happy, that could be real, and that's sad. Jeez, brain. It's not happy at all. Now, that is unfortunately the nature of life, right? We eat animals all the time. Can we talk about food? I just made myself hungry. Just said eat, and then it's like my brain's like food, food, food. Oh, tomorrow I am going to eat a fair bit of food. I feel like I need it. I feels like I needs it. What did I eat today? I had some sushi. I had eggs for breakfast with salsa and leek. Then I had some keema lamb with spinach. And last of all, I had a big fat bowl of salad with tuna. And what else was with it? Some red pickled cabbage with chili. And some cottage cheese. That was what I ate today. Tomorrow I plan to have proper Devon cream tea. Devon cream tea, that sounds... It doesn't sound like tea, it sounds like a drink with loads of cream in it. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a simple derp. Ugh. Now on the opposite side, you're probably never going to see the build that much. I might literally put a different design on the other side. Do you know what might be cool? Alternating the height of the lanterns as well. Or it might be terrible. And there's a distinct possibility it could be terrible. Oh, there we go. My mouse wheel, by the way, I brought this mouse hoping to fix a couple of problems, and it didn't fix the problem my other mouse had, is that the resting position of the mouse wheel just lets it, like, occasionally just go boom, over when you don't even touch it. It's disappointing. Like, there's quite a lot of times, like, especially today and yesterday, where I was harvesting lots of leaves. It would just be like, all of a sudden, I'm no longer using my hoe, because it just flicks over by one. I'm like, oh, thanks, computer game. Well, mouse. Thanks, mouse, you know. Thanks for your finesse controls. So what if I put that one there? Just alternate them. Another way to add a tiny amount of detail, right? X, you rated a streamer called Stingin. I think last stream he was hoping you could collaborate in RL Craft. Would you consider? I think it'd be really popular. I'm not really looking to play RL Craft at the moment. X, how much do you squat and deadlift for 1 rep max, says Veli. I don't do 1 rep max training. My training's far more high volume, low risk. So I don't have a 1 rep max. And if I did, it probably wouldn't be that much. Although I did find a calculator once that lets you actually calculate based on other types of volume you do. But here's the thing, right? Like, I don't know how far I can push myself because I don't really go near that kind of territory, right? So, you know, maybe I'm doing like leg presses and I'm doing like sets of like 5 sets of 16 leg presses, right? But I don't know how much further I can go. And the other week even, I was doing drop sets on lots of big, well, not big compound movements, but like some of the harder lifts, just to see like where I'm at and what I can do. And I went max weight on leg press, 100 kilograms, and I was doing like 20. And then I went down to like 90 kilograms and I was doing like 24. And that is like tons more than I ever do in a single session. And I gave myself some deliberate rest days after, but like that made me wonder, like, can I do a lot more than I think I can? Like, should I stick to this? Should I do more? I don't know. It was interesting. It was the same for a lot of stuff. It's like usually I'm doing these sets of like 12 to 16 reps, 5 lots of them, and then I go and do drop sets on them. And on some other ones, I was hitting like, you know, 30 reps or whatever. Like, it's I don't know what to do really. I'm not gonna switch to a different style of like training with max repetitions, but it was just kind of fascinating to think that maybe I'm just totally under training all the time, which is a thing you can probably do. Now over here, this is all gonna get totally different, isn't it? All of a sudden. So we're gonna go up to here. I might not even put the lantern in when it comes this close. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's this one here. Oh yeah, we're putting lanterns up here as well. I was going to mess around with putting the honey block there as well. That's good for building endurance strength, says Soda. Yeah, maybe I got the endurance to do like one session like that, right? Who knows? Anyway, I really need to build a new workout plan. I've just been winging it every day for a while, and it's been interesting, but not as productive. Oh, wait a minute. Did that look weird up here? I swear when I jumped, it did not have the top surface. You can't actually place the lantern on top of it, which I guess throws that one out the window. Also, what if I just put honey blocks as a railing? Would that even look like it makes sense? It kind of doesn't. As much as I want it to, it kind of just looks awful, probably. Oh, you can almost get away with that. You could... Oh, wait, they're supposed to have some different blocks at that height. You could almost... I think if the wall had more depth and shape, then somewhere in there you could probably get away with putting some honey blocks. At least you can't jump off them. Yeah, well, you can actually. You can jump off honey blocks. Right. Right. Jump in on my honey block. Not supposed to do this, but I know how to. And maybe you're wondering how, but will I tell you no. I'm just going to destroy the honey block, because I'm a troll. Okay. Whoop-de-whoop, shoop-de-doop. Shoop-de-doop-doop, diddly-doop. Let's put those in. There we go. Whoever put that big message in about doing the reps, feel free to send that again. I wanted to read that, and again, I was reading it as it went off the top of the screen. I should make a new rule. Just start at the bottom of chat instead of the top. I tend to just look at like the middle to top area. Are you not going for a more modern style lamppost for your road, or is this a different style? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of going with it, really. If this ends up looking good, that's cool. I'm trying to just put this together because it's a big scale thing that doesn't need to be a work of art. So it's really just about you know, getting something going, and this feels like pretty good so far. Are you not going for a more modern... Wait, oh, I read that one. That's literally the one I just read. That is a message that for some reason draws my eyes to it because I tried to read it twice. We must get a derp, says official dirtbot. Demanding for a derp is an instant disqualification of a derp. I'm not a fan of the sideways basalt. Well, trust me, when you got large, repetitious... you know, maybe actually the better way to do it was to randomize the whole thing. Like, apparently there's just some chain hanging out down here. Like, what if it's like occasionally it's a bit different? Let's come in here and... Because the idea is just to break up the flat. It's just a little bit harsh on the edge, but otherwise I think that could totally work. In fact, I think it's better than this at least, so we'll go with it. And try not to overdo it too much. Use unpolished basalt in the middle, maybe. It is unpolished basalt. Somehow it looks a little too muddy, says Blue Bottle. I think it's okay. It's kind of like quite industrial. I actually really quite like it, to be honest. Just maybe a little bit too flat. Which actually I just thought was something that would help us break that up, that flatness, pretty easy. You know, a design has to go through several revisions to get to where it's going. But if we keep... let's say that the time investment cost down. This will be really worth it. I think this will end up being a really cool design. And I'm going to put one right up the top in that corner. Try and randomize it a bit each time. Okay, so now for breaking up the flatness, I need to go grab some materials. X, if you like it, that's all that matters, says Honey Bebop. I like your attitude. You know, I appreciate people's input. No doubt. This is a back and forth. You know, even if you're going, that looks rubbish, it makes me think about it. It helps me flesh out the idea. But yeah, ultimately, like, I'm the one playing, so I need it to appease my eyes, if you like. Okay, gonna take a bunch of those and some of them. So I'm thinking, like kind of like a bracer or something just across here, occasionally utilizing a different texture. Yeah, I mean, I'd like for all of you to enjoy what I'm building as well, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But essentially, yeah, I need to enjoy it myself first of all. Kind of works. I can't help but feel maybe it needs a bit more overall, but I think that's not so bad. What if it comes down by one as well? That's definitely better. That I can work with. I can also sort of build it from down here, right? Like, all the blocks in place. If you click slower than 6 CPS, are you a derp? Probably not, as I don't know what CPS is, clicks per second, but like, hey, I'm not trying to break any records here. I mean, geez, it's just a computer game. We got Jay's on Fire here for 49 months. Jay's on Fire, thank you ever so much for your tremendous support over the months. We also got Lord Brimstone 1 with a subscription. Thank you ever so much. Welcome aboard. X, what are your views on the "if you aren't with me, then you are my enemy" attitude? Sorry for using a meme, but I think it sums up people's attitudes the best. Also, have you done a video on this already? I have not, NZG Berg. I don't think it would summarize up people's attitudes the best, because I think there are a variety of different attitudes that people have. But that attitude I do think is somewhat unproductive and maybe a little bit irrational. You know, I've brought this up many times, but there is a sort of opinion that floats around, an idea, a way of looking at the world, which is like, oh, we're a warring people. We've got a history of war and fighting one another, and so, you know, you're either on my side or you're not, right? Well, history has a lot of death and war in it. It's also got a heck of a lot of cooperation that we don't focus on in between that. So many of the fruits of the things we enjoy in life come from cooperation. I mean, all you got to do is look at whatever you're using to watch this stream. Smartphone, computer, on a monitor, listening to it on some headphones. Can you make any of that stuff? Can anyone here from scratch? Okay, I'm not talking like, oh yeah, I could order some components from the electronics store and put together a little, you know, a little speaker to listen to it on. Could you build the computer from scratch, you know? Well, I could order some motherboard parts. No, what I mean is, can you make a motherboard? Can you make a transistor? Like, all this stuff we've got that we've made comes from a lot of cooperative and collaboration. A lot of people working together. And when I say working together, I'm talking about the day by day. Going to your job, just saying hi to your neighbor. There's so much of that that gets overlooked when we talk about this war mindset. It's like, there's these moments of madness where we go and decide to kill one another. And they take up a lot of time and attention, and they're certainly a big deal. I'm not trying to diminish the deal that it is. But it's a small part of everything. Well, not a small part. It's a part of everything that's going on. And perhaps, in comparison to the amount of cooperation, it might actually be a smaller part than you think, because destroying things tends to be easier than creating. Everyone can throw a glass at a wall and break it, but you know, making it takes a lot more effort than it does to destroy it, right? So that's kind of like the same with war. It can be big, drastic. It can make you think all these things about the enemy and the other people and what's wrong in the world, but it's the exertion of a destructive force. It has the power to be destructive, yet, you know, all the cooperation that comes before it to even make a war possible. A lot of cooperation to make weapons. And so this whole idea of you're either on my side or you're not, I think it lacks an appreciation for the interconnectivity between people and how reliant on one another we are, right? This idea of being independent and self-sufficient is quite common, but in this day and age, if you're a self-sufficient, independent person, it probably means that you can drive a car and go to the shops and pick things to eat off the shelf. Doesn't mean that you can go out into the wild and forage for food and build shelter and survive. So I think I like to try and look for something positive and lean in a positive direction. And for me, that would be seeing the commonality with other people, and also how connected and dependent on one another we are for the things in our lives. So if there's someone holding this stance of like, you're either on my side or you're not, when they go to the shop and they buy some food, right? Now I'm gonna use a particular side here just because I saw this image the other day that cracked me up. Someone was tweeting out like a picture of them standing with these like big guys with guns, and it was like, "Come at me, libs," or something was the quote on their tweet, and it cracked me up. I was just like, oh, what is going on in your head? Somehow people with a different opinion than you are like, there's some mental war going on in your mind. Anyway, so I forgot what the example was now. Harrow's got a great point there that's going to deepen the conversation. I will bring that up. That's cool. That's a cool point. That's an interesting way to take it further, right? Where was I going with this? So we've got a lot of cooperation. I guess I was thinking that I tend to see it more on the right, the more stick my feet in the ground. I stand for this, and if you're not with me, you're against me. So to use that woman who tweeted out the picture of her and her friends ready to fight the libs, God, as an example, like when you go to the store and buy something, right, those things were put together by people, and there's a significant chance the people that put them together don't share your views. So you're kind of connected with these other people anyway. So I find it all a little bit like, not hypocritical, but just nearsighted and not seeing how dependent on one another we are. And I think if we realise that more, we could have some more tolerance for people with other opinions. I am really tolerant of people with other opinions. When someone has a different opinion to me, it's like, well, you've had a different life experience. You've been exposed to different information. I do not know what those informations you've been exposed to are, but if we don't have the ability to talk to one another, I'm not going to be able to find out and learn. And I think it's interesting to learn from other people. Lets you understand their perspectives. Maybe it changes some of your own. Maybe you hear about things you'd never thought of before. And if we're going to get into this entrenched position of being against that lot, against this lot, you're going to cut off the ability to give yourself the opportunity to learn from these things. So anyway, going back to the whole cooperation thing, Harrow says that cooperation can lead to evil, i.e. cooperation, working together, scientists creating the atomic bomb or whatever, right? Like, so when I said earlier about like throwing a glass at a wall and breaking it, and it's easier to break it than it is to make it, the same thing kind of applies. People can be destructive in groups as well, right? So for me, I'm looking at it more like it's about seeing what's out there in the world, seeing what's possible, and realizing that there is a lot of cooperation. So the argument of the atomic bomb doesn't really like fit into the way I'm looking at it. So it's hard to really put a comment on that because I feel like haven't got your line of thinking, right? Like I don't quite see how they connect in that way. But there could be a connection. I'm not dismissing it. I just like you can listen to people make points and not understand the logic sometimes, right? And at some point, maybe there's some language that can bridge that gap. But a group isn't inherently destructive, says Fuel Hauler. Exactly, that's the point, right? It's the same as, you can throw a bottle at the wall, and it's easy to do something destructive. It's easier to break the bottle than it is to build one. And so if people are doing it in groups, it's not really the group that makes the difference, is it? It's the same thing. I'm going to look at chat now. Okay, Hugh says it's quite a privilege to say that though, for some who are genuinely persecuted. Gotcha. Yeah, if I were in different shoes, I might feel differently about it. I'm not though, so it's kind of hard for me to look at it that way. I guess instinctively I still feel like it's the same thing, because someone being persecuted is again a destructive force. Like it's always easier to be it's easier to to be judgmental and dismissive than it is to be tolerant and accepting. Although, as I say that out loud, I don't know, it feels, I don't know if easier is actually the right word. Like, I don't feel like it's challenging to be tolerant and accepting of other people, but maybe you have to come that way a fair distance for it to then become easy. I don't know. That's something to think on. Because I'm aware of how my own position in life will influence my thoughts, and so it can be easy perhaps to overlook something like that. But just off the top of my head, it's not like a blind spot that all of a sudden I get, but it's something that just needs to be thought about more. You're so right, X. I've spent a week for creating a trash can, and it's like a bunch of blocks, easy to destroy and hard to create. I thought there was a joke there initially, like I've been making a trash can, something to throw away. I think what you mean is a disposal system in Minecraft, right? A little bit of redstone. Tolerance can be challenging if you have been taught to hate or judge in a certain way, says Mushroom Mummy. Yeah, and I really find the language of saying that hatred is taught very interesting. That's quite a thing to say, that it's taught, right? I I think I agree with that. A way of thinking for the most part, because people can learn to see things the other way, and learn being the key word there, right? If I think of it as like you can unlearn racism and bigotry, then you obviously learned it. I think that makes sense. But yeah, we need to just share the positive ideas of inclusion and tolerance for one another. People being persecuted are also being influenced by the destructive negative force of the persecution, and that can sway your viewpoint to negative in return, but people aren't inherently negative, says Dramian. If people are inherently negative or not, that might have something to do with upbringing, that might have something to do with, you know, like emotional development, or it might have something to do with genetics as well. Being genetically, you know, predisposed to different personality traits is sort of a known thing. But it's always a mixture. What's not known is just how influential it is, because the whole study of such things is a dense web of variables. But it can be all factors. A mix of all of them. Sometimes some are stronger than others. But yeah, I get what totally get what you're saying. I may not agree with what you were saying, but I'll fight to the death for your right to say it. This is Molly the Spy. I like that quote. It's a good one. I've been growing up with all people are good people until proven different. I got some ups and downs. Some people use that against you, others don't. Yeah, everyone has their flaws. I think that's what you're saying, right? People have their ups and downs. Everyone's got their flaws. Everyone's capable of making mistakes. Sometimes it's not a mistake. Sometimes you just make a bad decision. You have the ability to change as a person, and we're fallible. We should keep that in mind as well, I think. This is a really nice design. It's on the larger scale, it is a little bit repetitive. So I think having the opportunity to throw in a lamp design every so often would be really good. I think it's also going to be kind of easy to integrate. So let's say we mark up that we're going to put our first lamp here. Then we're going to put them every, let's put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in between. I think that's a really big spacing, which is good. So Maximus, I'm reading your message and I'm going to summarize it. But what bothers you is that people don't want to learn to see things the other way. Yeah, that is unfortunately a bias that we have as people to want to be right. I think if you think about things from a survival perspective, it's a case of like, in order to survive the environment in the wild, you need to be confident and you need to be right about stuff. Indecision is a killer. You know, having a little bit of experience with leadership, one of the things that I've learned about it is that making decisions over, like, indecision is really important. You don't want to get, you know, stuck not being able to just pull the trigger, essentially, and make a call that will get something done. And it might not be the best thing, but sometimes, you know, it's no thing is worse than the best, not the best thing. Totally butchered that. But anyway, you know, you have this strong instinct to gravitate towards wanting to be right? Like, how many things about reality do you think you're right about? It's like a thing in the mind to want to be right, because it's a mechanic. You need to be confident and right about dangers and threats in your environment. So in this modern age, we're kind of a little bit beyond the need for that, because it's not quite like being out there in the wild. So people don't like having their viewpoints challenged and tend to not like being taught wrong. But I'll tell you, being taught wrong is a blessing. When you are told you are wrong about something, hey, dude, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 3, it equals 2. Okay? You have now been blessed with the correct knowledge. And that can be useful. What if you're in a tight situation, you know? Someone's got a gun to your head and they're like, dude, I will remove this gun if you tell me what 1 + 1 equals. And you're like, it's 3! The world says 2, but I know it's 3, and I won't change my opinion. You know, okay, it's a stupid little scenario, but I can't think of anything that's actually a bit more cohesive. But maybe you see my point, right? Like, once you've been proven wrong, now you know what's right. It's a blessing. It's a good thing. And I think we would all do well to keep that in mind. Also, being right makes me feel smart, says Kiwi Fruit. Yeah, it can do that. Who deems what is right? The Nazis had a similar view of teaching what they thought was right. Interesting philosophical argument, says Harrow. I think the way you posed the question is a little contentious, really, because we have, you know, big discussions around ethics and the treatment of people and some of the ideas like eugenics or superior races and stuff. Like, there's a lot of discussion that comes around that, and I think the world is in a lot of agreement that they were wrong about all that stuff, right? That's the way I see it. So, yeah, I think that's a bit of a contentious point to make. I don't know. Maybe you were trying to say something slightly different, but that's kind of the way I read it. That looks a bit on the ugly side, but maybe it was supposed to be ugly. I feel like I know what to do to make that look a little bit more interesting. Clubsy says the word right could come from any point of view. Is there any true right? Well, determining truth can be a very tricky thing if you get into the particulars of what truth is. Star Talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson did a interesting collaboration with Vsauce 2 just very recently, where they delved into the question of like what is truly real, and that's totally worth a listen. This one here, it's always the last one you look in. Why is that, eh? Why is that? I'll have a little bit of scaffolding, thanks. Moral ethics change throughout the time and culture, so sometimes they can genuinely think they're right, says Luna. I got no doubt that they thought they were right about things, but yeah, like you said, it's a really big and complex topic, and it changes over time, absolutely. Those are things to keep in mind with this stuff. Harry says, I was trying to say that when you teach people the correct information, it's about who deems what is correct and how standards change over time. Got ya. Yeah, well, that's why I think we should be teaching the tools to reason and think as well. Like, here's what we currently think is the right way to do things. Here's how to think. Here's what the argument is. Like, the tools to think about stuff are what's really important. Critical thinking, right? Okay, how are we going to take this design further? I've got the picture of it in my mind, I just need to place the blocks. Kono Tyron says, here's how to think. That sounds very 1984. I didn't say how to think, I said the tools. If you want to say the tools of how to think are therefore like 1984, well, you're getting to a point there where you can just paint anything that way. The idea is that you teach people how to think critically. You give them some basic ideas for constructing their own thoughts on a topic and how to think and reason. Like, a very simple one is just the act of playing devil's advocate. It's just a prompt for you to think, hang on a second, what about if I were on the other end of this stick, right? It feels like it wants something there, but it kind of breaks it up a little bit. Actually, I think we've got it. I think that's the design right there. I hear the groaning of zombies. Yeah, that actually looks a bit lame. To be frank, it looks a bit lame. It's very hard without bias, says Nosvad. Well, I think the acknowledgement of bias is what's important. Bias is in everything. Again, that video that Vsauce did with Neil deGrasse Tyson, like, it really gets at how difficult it is to prove anything solid or concretely, right? A lot of stuff genuinely lives in ambiguity. Anyway, I feel like this conversation's got a little drawn out. Spider! Erect. Oh, where are they? They're under this thing. That's where they are. They're under it. Don't know about that. We'll have to work on that one. Maybe I'll consult Kralis. You know, when someone else builds something that looks really cool, I look at Kralis's design. It's alright. It's definitely better than this one, but I think it's maybe the use of the wall block over there. Maybe we do something like that. If I'd have built that, I would probably be more self-critical of it, right? So maybe from someone else's perspective, that actually looks pretty cool. That's kind of what I'm getting at. It saddens me that we can never fully and truly experience another person's experience, as we may act in a way that would disagree with if we did not know the situation with Luna. Interesting. Okay, let's wrap this one up. Am I on the noises in the ear? Oh, we got, where did we get to? Kitchen Table 99, Matt Ray, and Ninja 17 Reapers, and also Zachariah. Thank you for your support. We got Pandora TV with a donation saying, in your latest video, the chick in pens had 2 trapdoors to keep them in. If you drop the hoppers by 1 block and use a honey block on top, the chickens can't escape. Just watch the end of my next episode of Hermitcraft and you'll see the response to that, Pandora. That's not what I ended up doing. But anyway, yeah, let's wrap this one up. Thank you ever so much, everyone, for tuning in today. I appreciate your support. Thank you to everyone who subscribed, resubscribed, donated, and cheered. Thank you to all of my Patreons. I believe people in chat were saying Rendog was streaming, and he is. So I'm going to send you over to the Ren Digged Dog, the one and the only, from the Hermitcraft server. Peeps, hit that follow button here on Twitch, and while you're at it, hit the raid button and join in the raid. Thank you for tuning in today. I appreciate your support, and I'll see you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.